Part 40. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 394. Is there something wrong with your method? Impossible. This method has been used in many special occasions and can avoid a lot of interference. There can be no problem, Feng Chime immediately retorted. Garen also fell silent. He frowned and looked around. This building was the tallest building around, and everything around him could be clearly seen. The entire city area was deserted. There was dead silence. There are obviously so many mutants outside the city, why can't we see anything inside the city? Garen whispered. Go down and take a look, Feng Chime glanced at Garen. I suspect this is not where we are going at all, Vival. In this case, the best way is to look for the store's nameplate, or a publicity bulletin board or something like that. Garen nodded. He looked around, quickly locked onto a target, released two masses of black mist, and once again enveloped the two of them and flew downwards. Flying in mid-air, the buildings around me were more than 10 stories high. The windows above were all dark, like dead hollows, exuding a cold chill. The two of them landed firmly at the corner of the street, in front of a publicity notice wall. There are some tattered newspapers and notices posted on the earth yellow walls. Some of them have been mostly fallen off, some are still intact, and some are covered with red graffiti. The two of them glanced at the posters separately. Found it, the wind chime tore off a small piece of newspaper from the wall. Start reading according to the words above. The 23rd rectification document of Gooden City. All infected people, please go to the nearby medical clinic for statistics as soon as possible. Free vaccines are available for injection. Special infected people are missing, most of them. Feng Chime raised his head and said, Gooden City, I have heard about this city. It is the largest and most prosperous city in the country, bigger than the capital. Where exactly? Garen asked in a deep voice. In the middle of the distance we are going to pass. That's not right. I calculated it based on our speed. It's impossible to fly such a short distance in so much time. Feng Ling became confused. Whether it is Vival or Gooden City, they are both major cities belonging to the Nevis Empire. Since the turmoil occurred, what is the specific situation in this country? The wind chime shook its head. I haven't heard of anyone from this country showing up. After the turmoil, everyone paid attention to the big countries. Who cares about such a small country, especially a country like Nevis that only has a small territory? What should we do now? Go around here and see what's going on here, Garen replied calmly. The sky has become completely dark. Everything around him was dim and unclear. Wind Chime took out two pieces of flint and a small assembled torch from his waist bag. Mount the torch head on a wooden stick to create a simple small torch. This kind of torch is my unique good thing. It can burn for 5 hours at a time, which is at least. And the materials are easier to find and very convenient, Feng Chime said with a little pride. He struck the two pieces of flint together. He. Huh? Why can't it burn? He checked the flint stone strangely. I'll do it. Garen took out the matches from his pocket. Laugh. The match rubbed against the skin, but there was no spark. Huh? Garen was a little surprised. Damp. I know a lighting technique that can illuminate for 10 minutes in a short time. The wind chime also felt a little wrong. The surroundings are getting darker and darker, and there is no gap in the clouds in the sky. The black clouds in the sky are getting denser and denser. No moon, no stars. The whole city seemed to be being swallowed up by darkness step by step. The wind chime moved very quickly, a white light spot lit up slightly on the fingertips, and a simple magic symbol was quickly carved in mid-air. Laugh. After a soft sound, the symbol collapsed in mid-air. Something's wrong. The lighting technique doesn't work. The sound of the wind chime rose an octave, and he began to try again hastily. Garen also noticed something was wrong. The surroundings are getting darker and darker, there is no light, and now there is no way to light the flame for lighting. This doesn't seem like a coincidence. The wind chime still couldn't light up, neither the totem nor the flame could light up. It seems that light is not allowed to appear here, Garen said in a low voice. Go out first and then talk. Okay, the wind chime also felt wrong. The two men were covered in black mist and quickly flew towards the outside of the city. Taking advantage of the fact that the whole city was not completely dark, the two quickly flew out of the city wall. Laugh. The wind chime has been repeating the action of outlining the lighting technique. As soon as it flew out of the city, the lighting symbol he outlined suddenly lit up with white light. It's done. A small ball of light floated quietly in the air between the two of them. One of my totems belongs to the fire element, so it can be used for lighting. I just don't know why, but it can't be illuminated in the city. Garen did not reply, but stared blankly in the direction of Gooden City where he had just flown away. Feng Chime looked back in astonishment. I saw that the entire city area was completely empty. It was basically a barren flat land with no buildings or walls on it. There were only a few small trees standing alone on the ground, looking like they might die from lack of water at any time. Where is Gooden City? Feng Ling looked stunned. I don't know. Garen shook his head slowly. He took a deep breath. Could it be that what we just saw was an illusion? Impossible, Feng Chime shook his head decisively. Go take a look around, he suggested directly. Garen nodded. The two men were wrapped in black mist and began to patrol around this generation. The moon and stars could be seen in the sky again, and a faint light shone down, spreading over the entire land. There were no cities, no buildings, not even the mutants seen before. It seemed as if everything I saw during the day was an illusion. The two were unwilling to give in and searched back again. As I passed by during the day, not a single mutant I saw was left, they all disappeared. Garen actually had a vague guess in his mind. Unlike the wind chime, he had experienced the strange phenomenon of Guyin Duo twice. Now that he encountered this kind of strangeness again, he quickly found the corresponding possible guess from the legend of Guyin Duo. Yushan is a strange city in ancient Yinduo legends. You can come in and out at will during the day, but when night comes, the city will disappear completely and enter unknown darkness. If someone does not come out before darkness comes, they will be left in the city forever. No one knows where they went, no one knows how Yushan came to be. The next day, Yushan was still empty and dead. According to legend, after identifying the dangers of Yushan, the hero Mogust, who was already in his twilight years, took the lost chains given by his wife, Queen Starry Night, and entered Yushan and never came out again. This is also the end of his legendary life. This great hero who could even compete with the 5 sons of Mother Earth finally fell in front of this unknown city. And Yushan quickly disappeared, leaving only mysterious legends. Garen recalled this legend and felt a little lucky in his heart. Fortunately, the two of them made a prompt decision and quickly left Gooden City before the light completely disappeared. If the legend is true, then this kind of secluded city where even deified heroes cannot leave is simply the most dangerous and unpredictable place. If you really get stuck, you don't know what will happen. It's the black copper phenomenon again, the wind chime whispered, looking down at the empty land below, with complicated eyes. We call these strange phenomena caused by black copper the black copper phenomenon. No one knows what direction the world will eventually go. From the moment black copper was discovered, it was destined to change the entire world. Black copper, Garen thought thoughtfully. What should we do now? Feng Ling spread his hands, saying that he was completely at his wits' end. He pondered for a while. Let's continue to the original mission point. Although I don't know why, we have only advanced this little distance, but we still have to do things, Garen replied. After a pause, he took one last look at the large open area where Gooden City used to be. Maybe we'll come back here when this is all over. I don't want to come again, Feng Chime immediately responded. If you want to come, come by yourself. You can tell at a glance that this place is not ordinary dangerous. Garin didn't bother to pay attention to him. Two masses of black mist enveloped the two of them and flew rapidly in the original direction. In a white mountain range far away from the two of Garin. Somewhere on top of a snow-covered mountain range. On the white slope of the mountain top, in the white snow, there are large black trees sparsely scattered, some connected in a line, and some isolated. A large piece of sharp mountain rock arched out a black section from the snow. Black trees and white snow are mixed together, and the entire peak seems to be only black and white. Black rocky soil and black cedar weeds are embedded in the white snow. It's like a pure white blanket covered with black mud. Beneath the large tracts of snow, in an oval-shaped cavity between the snow layers, a young woman dressed in white had her eyes slightly closed, seeming to be in a state of silence similar to hibernation. In the woman's arms, she held a round dark gold bracelet. The bracelet was engraved with dense black magic symbols. These symbols seemed to be independent, but they were strangely connected together, like a dark ring-shaped snake. The snake eyes are two inlaid green diamonds, emitting a faint green light. Iwixi has not eaten for 4 days and has only relied on a little pure water he carried with him to support himself until now. She hid under the snow, restrained all the breath in her body, and even her heartbeat slowed down to the minimum. It is to reduce body odor and metabolism and reduce all physiological activities to a minimum. As an elite student of the Mathematics Institute, her performance in wilderness survival training is the best. As long as she successfully delivers the secret treasure to the tutor of the mathematical institution, her mission will be completed. But she didn't know exactly when the coordinator would arrive. What is certain now is that people from the Black Sky Society are still searching for her on the ground. Perhaps many other desperados who want to try their luck are also searching for her. Even the secret agencies of the 3 major agencies are also part of the search team. If the state agencies hadn't been able to spare more manpower, there would have been a lot more searchers in Ivy. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 395. She didn't know what the specific situation was. Are there still so many people outside? Are those nasty black dogs still sniffing the snow? There should be more and more people gathered in Robin of Black Sky Society, right? Avasai's mind was in a state of half dream and half awake. She could only wait and leave her fate to God's arrangement. If the people who studied the mathematics mechanism did not find her in front of the enemy, then what awaited her might be a crueler fate than death. A few days later. In the sky above the snow-capped peaks of the mountains, pitch-black birds were constantly flying and inspecting the scenery below. The flying bird is the same size as an ordinary sparrow, but has 2 strangely long sickle-like forelimbs, like sharp pincers. They shuttled silently in the strong wind, and were not affected by the huge wind force. On the edge of an ice cliff in the snow peak, several figures in black robes were standing. They gathered together in a circle, with a large black metal vat in the middle filled with green potion. Strangely, scenes of snow-capped mountain topography appeared on the water surface of the potion, like a green sand table. The landscape above is still changing slightly, it's so incomparable, it's like looking down from a high altitude. The agents are coming. Swank, haven't you found it yet? A man in black robe asked in a low voice. He spoke Anite with a tongue-twisting accent, which gave people the impression that he was not very proficient. I've searched the entire mountain range, but I haven't found any trace of that little guy. It's really a good hiding technique. Another man in black robe shook his head and replied, where are the others? There seem to be many other people here during this time. They want to. Do you want to confuse the situation or take advantage of the chaos? They are probably adventurers here to try their luck. There are swarms of monsters everywhere outside. They can actually break through the defense line and come in, so be careful. I know, let Robin know. Okay. In another area of the snow peak, on the snow-white slope, small dots are densely scattered everywhere, some are red dots, Some are black dots, but most of them are small white dots. Some of these dots are clever little totems, such as rabbits, foxes, squirrels, and mice. They were running around and drilling holes, constantly looking for something. A man in black robes had a white flying squirrel lying on his shoulder. He was walking on the snow with 1 foot deep and 1 foot shallow. He blew out strong white air from his mouth and made a crunching sound when his feet stepped on the snow. Leave deep footprints. Suddenly he stopped and glanced around, vaguely seeing the figures of adventurers in the distant cedar forest. Damn bugs, he cursed in a low voice. These adventurers were desperados who had survived from various places. They were originally stragglers. But after a new wave of adventurers joined, the situation became somewhat complicated. This new force of adventurers is led by a man named Bloody Hand, who is cunning, and very powerful. It seems that he also has excellent hiding ability to avoid direct confrontation with their Black Sky Society. But now these people obviously haven't found the little guy. Otherwise they won't follow you. The man in black robe felt a little more comfortable. Suddenly, he stopped slightly and reached into his arms with his right hand, as if holding something down. He closed his eyes, as if listening carefully to something. Suddenly, he raised his head and looked at the sky, his expression slowly changing. He backed up step by step. Oh, we're in trouble now. Xylan, notify everyone to withdraw. What's going on? A woman's voice came from his arms. I think someone from the Mathematics Institute is here. The man in black robe looked up at the sky ahead, where 3 red dots were flying rapidly. The red dot is getting bigger and clearer. After seeing the appearance of the person clearly, the man in black robe took a breath of air. Everyone! Get out, get out! It's the flames of hell. If you don't have time, hide on the spot. The man in black robe retreated faster and faster, becoming more and more urgent. It seemed to draw a clear black line in the snow. The footprints under his feet continued to form a line, and they quickly left towards the rear. Whizzing! The 3 red dots instantly reached the spot where the man in black robe had previously stood. These were 3 men and women in red robes, 2 men and 1 woman. The leader was a middle-aged man with red hair. There was murderous intent in his brows, and his eyes scanned the remaining traces below. You dare to touch my mathematics learning machine. It seems that we haven't been walking outside for many years, and some people have forgotten the scars. Teacher, let's find the junior sister first, another woman in red robe whispered. The middle-aged man nodded and looked at the young man at the end. The latter nodded. My little guys have confirmed the situation. The forces searching here include the adventurers and the Black Sky Society. The ones worth noting are the Bloody Hands and the Gluttony Ring 5 of the Black Sky Society. In addition, I have found the group with AI. There are other junior students who have been separated from Vichy. They are hiding under a snow hill and haven't eaten any cooked food for 3 days. Bang! A ball of red flame exploded from the middle-aged man's hand. These damn things, they don't know how to live or die, he seemed to be squeezing the words out from between his teeth. You go pick up those poor little guys. Then tutor you. Of course I'm going to let these guys who are looking for death taste the pain. Sometimes death is more kind than life, the middle-aged man said with a cold face. Balls of flames ignited out of thin air, surrounding the middle-aged man. He was about to leave to take revenge on those enemies who dared to offend the majesty of the agency. Suddenly the man narrowed his eyes and looked directly towards the woods on the left. Come out, he growled lowly. In the cedar forest, 2 mysterious figures covered in black slowly walked out. A man in front opened his hood, revealing brilliant blonde hair that spread over his shoulders. He had a handsome face and fair complexion. The most conspicuous thing is the 3-point mark like cinnabar on the center of his eyebrows. A secret agency. Hellfire. They both spoke at the same time. The face across from him looked calm and leisurely, as if he was just going for a walk after dinner. Why are you guys who only know how to hide in the cracks come here? Do you want to covet the secret treasure? Hellflame said coldly. He has no fondness for secret agencies. Unlike state agencies and academic and mathematical agencies, the secret agencies are bloody and cruel, full of cunning and deception. Although they are both one of the three major agencies. But the tentacles of the secret agency seem to be pervasive, and their intelligence network seems to be everywhere and unpredictable. Compared with the cute students in the mathematics department, Hellfire hates these shadow hounds with no aristocratic qualities even more. Like wolves that smell carrion, they can be found everywhere. Not only him, but the two people around him also looked vaguely wary. Staring at the blond man who just appeared. It's the eight-headed mist crow Galen. A noble from the capital of Kuwaitan. Very strong. The young red-robed man moved his lips slightly and lowered his voice just enough for the Hellflames to hear. Hellflame nodded slightly without moving his expression. It's impossible to give up the secret treasure to you, he shouted to the other side. We have sacrificed so much, and the things are now in our hands. This is the result of our math studies. Garen's expression did not change. The task I received is to obtain the secret treasure. As for whose hands it is, that's none of my business, he said calmly, as if everything was taken for granted. Hellflame's eyes turned red, and then he suppressed his anger. Very good, let's resolve the external disputes first, and then I'll show you your methods. That's what I meant. Garen slowly backed away and disappeared deep into the pine forest with the other person. After the opponent retreated, Hellflame's expression became even more unhappy. Teacher, you don't have to worry. At least the secret agency will not fall out with us until all foreign enemies are eliminated, the young red-robed man whispered. I just received news that the Black Sky Society has new support. In addition to the Ring of Gluttony, there is also the Ring of Greed and the Ring of Anger. Recently, we have received some new information, and people from the Earth Flower Club are also here. Daiwa Club. Hellflame's mood gradually calmed down. Ignore them, let's go and experience the newly established evil circle of Black Sky Club first. I want to see who gave them such courage to dare to provoke the majesty of the mathematical institution. Teacher, you don't want to mess around again, the female red robe said quickly. Don't worry. Hellflame raised his hand, indicating not to worry. He glanced at the direction Galen and the two left, and suddenly raised his hand. Laugh. A line of fire shot out of his hand and disappeared directly into the white pine forest. In the pine forest, Garen was quietly looking at the people in white who were bowing respectfully in front of him. These people in white were all in a mess and looked exhausted, but they seemed to be very excited because of his arrival. So, the people from our secret agency lost a lot in this operation. Yes, the leader of the man in white lowered his head and said in shame. Lord Wu Crow, the people from the Black Sky Society want to dig through the entire Swafeng. They will kill the people who see our secret agency. We can't completely avoid it. Garen rubbed his chin and remained silent. Boss, I must be dragged down by you. The wind chimes are bitchy on one side. How many people from the Black Sky Society did the two men kill outside? At the general level and at the school level, this kind of guerrilla warfare has caused the Black Sky Society's many plans to fail. It's no wonder the opponent is not popular. It can be said that most of Garen's reputation is based on the casualties suffered by the Black Sky Society. Looking at the miserable subordinates of the secret agency in front of him, Garen couldn't help but shake his head slightly. Suddenly there was a crisp sound from behind. A line of fire passed through the pine forest and flew straight towards Garen. Peng! Garen raised his hand to catch the flying line of fire. The flame stopped in his hand, revealing its body. It was a square piece of red jade, with a symbol similar to an inscription carved on it. The sound of hell's flames came directly from the ruby. Eight-headed mist crow, you and I share this snowy peak equally. How about we resolve the matter of the secret treasure internally after the area is cleared? His voice was extremely clear. Just what I want. I want the east side. Then I am Simeon. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 396. The voice suddenly dimmed. Boom. Suddenly, a huge red cloud suddenly shot up in the direction of the hell flames. The red cloud first expanded, then quickly condensed and shrank, turning into a huge red bird more than 30 meters long. Anyone who dares to offend my math skills will bear the wrath of the flames of hell, a huge voice echoed over the entire west side of the snow peak. Chirp. The red bird flapped its wings and made a clear cry. Immediately, large tracts of red clouds began to emanate from it, shooting out in all directions, like red lines, like living things above the snow peaks. These lines of fire seemed to have intelligence, searching for all enemies who were not from the three major agencies. Soon, bursts of irrepressible exclamations and screams came out. If these lines of fire don't touch a living creature, they will completely envelop and ignite it, turning it into a ball of torches. Most of the sky above the entire snow peak was shrouded in red clouds, like burning clouds in the evening. Hell flame Monkdu. Don't think that our Black Sky Society is afraid of you. An angry old man's voice sounded from another place. Garen saw the subordinates of the secret agency looking at him expectantly. Although internal fighting is prohibited among the three major agencies, there is obvious competition between them, and no one wants to be suppressed by the other in terms of momentum. He smiled slightly, stretched out his right hand, and the black pocket watch wrapped around his wrist immediately hung down. Boom! A large stream of black energy rose into the sky. They quickly dispersed into countless black fog crows, flying densely all over the sky, making an unpleasant quacking cry. A large group of black crows quickly spread along with the black mist, quickly occupying the entire western sky of the snow peak. It forms a sharp color contrast with the red clouds in the east. One is black and the other is red, as if two huge curtains are right next to each other. No one is invading anyone else's airspace. The secret agency has cleared the area. Anyone who doesn't want to die will get out of Swafeng. The secret agencies and others on the side were stunned. Masters of secret agencies have never been so arrogant and domineering, provoking others head-on. Secret and secret, they all focus on assassinations. There has never been a person as upright and open as Garen, releasing his power to let the enemy see his position clearly. Originally, they thought Garen would lead them to secretly eliminate those damn pursuers for the first time. But now. But I don't know why, but this feeling seems pretty good. There was a faint flame of excitement in everyone's eyes. The sky full of black crows, the terrifying and huge power, all this was brought about by his leader. This is the legendary top powerhouse with the title. For a time, all the people in the secret agency had an unprecedented fresh feeling. The huge red cloud bird in the distance looked towards the large black crows, with a flash of surprise in its eyes. Eight-headed mist crow? I think I like this guy a little bit. I didn't expect that. It is rare for a secret agency to have a guy who likes to fight head-on. What a loud tone. On the snow somewhere on the mountain peak, several figures in black robes and red masks looked up at the red clouds and black crows in the sky. A hoarse voice came from under the mask of one of them. It's very beautiful. I just like big scenes like this. The other voice was very gentle and seemed to be that of a young woman. Don't worry so much, hurry up and arrange it, don't delay the plan. Another person reminded in a low voice, also a female voice, but it seemed a little hoarse and magnetic. The three of them stopped talking and quickly walked towards a hidden place in Swafeng. Boom. 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 Huge explosions continued to come from the area shrouded in red clouds. Some survivors, all covered in black, stumbled out under the cover of some totems and ran down the mountain. Some even had their bodies maimed by the bombing. Without daring to look back, he ran directly down the mountain. It looked like there were dozens of people. In contrast, only a few people ran out of the area shrouded by black crows. There was no trace of the rest. The roar of the fog crow was obscured by the explosion, and only a faint scream mixed with it could be heard. Over the next 2 days, Garen and Hellflame each used a large area net to eliminate most of the weak ones, and then regain their strength. The remaining groups cannot be eliminated using large-scale methods. These remaining groups all have magical means to gather everyone's power, and they can still hide and avoid the excessively dispersed power. Somewhere to the west of Swafeng, several black lines suddenly penetrated into the snowy ground ahead. Soon, the black thread pierced and flew back to Garen's hand. Scarlet blood slowly seeped out on the snow. How about the wind chimes? Garen raised his feet and walked forward slowly. These days, he has been annihilating hidden strongholds one by one. Master Feng Chime has solved 4 hiding spots. There were 2 people following Garen, both subordinates of the secret agency and the manpower responsible for this operation. The 2 men were a man and a woman, both relatively young. It seems that he has just been promoted to the stage not long ago. Garen nodded. Let's go to the next point. These people won't give up until the end. Yes, sir. Both of them were faintly excited. They are actually a brother and sister. The boy's name is Belle and the girl's name is Barony. They joined the secret agency together. Because their homeland was destroyed, in order to take revenge, they had to join the 3 major agencies to fight against monsters and the Black Sky Society. But now they sincerely worship and respect Garen. This feeling of sweeping through everything is really great. I press all the way and kill all the living creatures I see that are not my own. If they had such strength, when their homeland was destroyed, when their motherland was destroyed, maybe there wouldn't be so many tragedies. Wait. We are willing to surrender. Pay the price to redeem our lives. Several men in gray clothes came out from behind the black boulder and shouted loudly. Tisk. 2 black lines pierced through and penetrated the chests of these people, causing a large amount of blood to splash onto the snow. Next, Garen walked through the corpse indifferently, leaving a man in white to deal with the corpse. 2 men and 1 woman from the secret agency were still following him. In the pine forest, 2 men in white looked around in surprise. I just found traces of the other party here. Sir. Garen raised his hand to stop the other party from reporting. His eyes instantly looked to the left of the pine forest. Madness. Laugh. A black crow turned into a black line and flew away. The air suddenly became distorted, and a figure of a woman in white armor appeared out of thin air. A layer of white totem light appeared in front of the woman, but it was instantly pierced by the fog crow. Spare my life, she shouted loudly. Boom. The woman's chest was directly penetrated by the mist crow, leaving a circular bloody hole. She lowered her head blankly, looking at the bloody hole in her chest, then fell to her knees and threw herself head-on. Sir, we have discovered a new cluster of hiding spots. A man in white ran to Garen and whispered in his ear. After listening to the report, Garen didn't even look at the woman's body. Walk. He turned around and walked in the direction he came from. Ouch. A huge black lion ran quickly through the snow. His speed was extremely fast, and he covered a distance of hundreds of meters in just the blink of an eye, with large white snowflakes kicking up behind him. There was a black armored knight riding on the back of the lion. He was panting, his face was bloodless, and he looked back eagerly from time to time. Behind him, a large group of black fog crows were chasing after him. A black mist enveloped Garen and followed him closely. Looking at the black lion running in front of him, Garen raised his hand, preparing to kill him with one blow. His current opponents, below the spiritual level, pose no threat to him at all, they are just ants. He raised his right hand, and a black mist slowly condensed into a black crow in his hand. Suddenly Garen's movements stopped. His body instantly stopped on the spot and fell to the ground. His eyes were slightly narrowed, and his long blonde hair was slightly blowing to the left in the wind. "Everyone come out," Garen said calmly. Bang 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 bang. A crisp sound of applause came from behind Garen. As the applause appeared, 5 figures in black robes and red masks slowly emerged around Garen. Each of these people held a purple crystal stone in their hands, with a hint of silver liquid shining faintly inside. "Garen Terry Jones, how long has it been since we last met?" A familiar female voice appeared from directly in front of Garen. They were 2 men in red masks and black robes who walked out slowly. Judging from their body shapes, they were both women. The person on the left gently took off her mask, revealing a charming white face. One of her eyes was covered with a black eye patch and she had short purple hair. Medea Garen immediately recognized this woman's voice. "It looks like the illusionist did a good job." Another woman also took off her mask, revealing a beautiful, soft, and delicate face underneath. Her long hair was dark and braided into many cylindrical curls, which looked unusual, elegant and luxurious. The most conspicuous thing is that her right cheek has a diamond-shaped black and purple pattern, like a dagger, with snakes and leaves wrapped around it. "This is the first time we meet. My name is Anslola. I am currently the #1 elemental general of Mahakala." Garen was shocked. "East of Swafeng." Boom. The hell flames waved their hands calmly, blasting the large snowfield below into a charred black patch. The blood and blood mixed together, melted into streams of water, and were quickly condensed into red ice. "Mani. I haven't seen you for so many years, but you're still so impatient." Suddenly a deep male voice came from behind him. Hell flame froze, suspended in mid-air. This voice. "I still remember that when I personally revised the design of the spell array for you, you were only as tall as my waist," the person behind him recalled lightly. Hell flame stood frozen, turning around with great difficulty. A humanoid figure made of countless black clouds floated behind him. Countless black clouds were still twisting and condensing, and they quickly condensed into a body that looked like flesh and blood. It was a man with a hole in each shoulder and black chains inside. The chains on his shoulders seemed to extend into the invisible void, connecting to unknown space. The whole person seemed to be chained in the void. "Shinaun." Teacher Hell Lion spat out a few words dryly. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 397. Snowflakes all over the sky slowly fell. Like white cotton wool, there are many waves. In the snow, 5 men in black robes surrounded Garen. The amethyst in their hands bloomed with a silvery shimmer. The purple light slowly formed a hemispherical purple light film, slowly covering the galleons in the center and closing toward the top of the head. Garen raised his hand, but was unable to move at all. He didn't know when translucent 4 threads penetrated his whole body. Elbows, backs of hands, shoulders, knees, all joints were tightly held tightly by silk threads. The source of the silk thread was clearly the hand of a black-haired woman in front of the man in black robe. "It's poison again." The vermilion mark on Garen's eyebrow seemed to bleed. Anslola smiled slightly. "The poison of golden vine flower is used in an amount that can poison twice the giant beast. Do you feel that your body is starting to become weak now, and the light of the totem has been weakened again?" Garen was speechless. Ansarola's voice became gentler. "The poison of golden vine is actually not very powerful, but when mixed with the remaining toxins in your body, it becomes a new, stronger, and more stubborn toxin. I remember, the strongest elemental general in your Black Sky Society's Dongjo should be being, right," Garen said lightly. A hint of unnaturalness flashed across Ansarola's face. Then it immediately returned to normal. "Is it ice? That traitor has been imprisoned in the lightless prison. He leaked the company's secrets, sabotaged the marshal's plan, and was unruly. This is his fate. So, You picked up number 1 for nothing. Garen's lips curled up, showing a hint of contempt. Anslola became slightly unkind. How dare you speak harshly when you are about to become a prisoner? Buzz. At this moment, the purple light film above the head finally closed completely, making a strange buzzing sound. Inside the light curtain, seen from above, a silver pointer emerged from the entire circle and slowly rotated inside the light curtain. Like a purple clock. Garen was locked inside the clock. The threads around his body receded and the hands passed over him, as if they were illusory, but a trace of black energy was faintly taken away from him. This is the secret treasure, the original pointer. Anslola smiled sweetly. Eight-headed mist crow, this secret treasure is a collection of 5 carefully selected element general masters from our Black Sky Society, and it is not in your hands to activate it together. That imitation can be compared. Sure enough, you just got to the first place by picking up a bargain. Do you think you are sure of victory? Garen's expression remained unchanged. Is not it? I think I already know why you are still afraid of ice. Garen showed contempt again. Boom. Large clouds of black mist poured out from the pocket watch in his hand, about to gather into the form of a black crow. But the strange thing is that before the black crow was fully formed, it was crossed by the sweeping silver pointer, taking away a large part of the black mist. The silver pointer is like a vacuum cleaner, quickly sucking in large amounts of black mist. Garen was startled and quickly put away the mist on his pocket watch, but it was a little too late at this time, and the pocket watch looked slightly dim. The amount of black mist in this kind of imitation secret treasure is fixed and can only be replenished through special methods. Now that so much is absorbed at once, the power of the pocket watch will instantly drop by a large level. Do you still think that something that flows out of our hands will be useful? Medea said coldly. You think this can completely trap me? I don't know. Garen's face turned cold. He raised his hand and pointed forward. Roar. 2 invisible dragon mouths slammed into the purple light screen in front of them. Click. The light curtain trembled slightly, but still did not move. The 4 dragon mouths collided in the same direction again. Bang. Buzzing. The sound of impact continued to reverberate in the light curtain. Garen's expression remained unchanged, and he was once again preparing to mobilize more dragons. But suddenly I felt weak. Don't try too hard. In order to catch you, we have arranged a large magic array in the entire area covering 1,000 meters. This original pointer array actually superimposes the power of 2 large and small magic arrays. The outer perimeter there are also hundreds of general level and school level members of the Black Sky Society. With the combined efforts of so many people, even you can't break free. Now I just have to wait for the commander to deal with that side, and then come over and deal with you personally. Garen's face became a little confused. The poison had weakened half of his dragon head, and now the spell array gathered the power of so many people. Come again. There was a faint evil fire in his heart. The eyebrows slowly lit up with red fluorescence. 4 dragon heads suddenly appeared from the void, and together with the other 4 weak dragon heads, the huge bodies of the 8 dragons suddenly squeezed into the entire purple light curtain. It crawled out of the void, as if it was about to completely explode the small purple light curtain. Roar. The 8-headed dragon looked up to the sky and roared. The huge sound waves spread out in all directions, hit the purple light curtain, and then came back hard, constantly reverberating and vibrating within the light curtain. The entire light curtain suddenly buzzed and vibrated violently, making an overwhelming clicking sound. The 5 elemental generals around him became a little anxious and looked at Anslola. Anslora's expression changed slightly, and he winked at Medea beside him. The latter immediately understood, took out an extremely black dagger in his hand, and gently threw it in the direction of Garen. The dagger drew a perfect parabola, spinning and landing on the purple light screen. It actually disappeared into the light screen for an instant and disappeared completely. The light curtain originally showed faint cracks, but now it quickly stabilized. But at this time, the sound wave oscillations within the light curtain had faintly formed peaks and troughs. At this moment, a contemptuous smile appeared on Garen's face, and the red light between his eyebrows became more and more dazzling. He raised his finger and flicked it slowly on the light screen. Dang! This sound hit the highest peak of the wave. Click. With a crisp sound, the entire light curtain collapsed and shattered, and a red figure rushed out instantly, shooting straight towards Anslola. Garen's eyes glowed with red fluorescence, and his left hand shot out straight like a snake, biting the opponent's neck at an extremely fast speed. Buzz! A silver-white totem light shone all over Anslola's body, and he had no time to react, and instinctively retreated. Laugh! Garen's left hand instantly penetrated her neck. The light of the totem was completely unable to stop his piercing, and the disaster-like bloody light seemed unstoppable. At this moment, Anslola's body slowly dissipated and disappeared, turning into nothingness. Missing a hit, Garen pulled away and retreated. He punched a tree trunk on the side with his backhand. Click! The tree trunk suddenly broke and exploded in the middle, and countless sawdust shot out like bullets. Well! There was a muffled groan from behind. The shadow of a huge 8-headed dragon once again appeared behind Garen, with 4 huge mouths pouncing towards the 4 elemental generals on all sides. The strange thing is that the dragon's mouth clicked, but the bite was empty and did not touch the position of the elemental general at all. Illusionist Garen did not turn around, but tilted his head slightly. Behind him, a man in the same black robe slowly emerged. He was still wearing a red mask, but he was covering his chest with his hands and coughing quietly. On the chest, there were actually several white sawdust embedded in it. Everyone around looked at Garen in shock. He can break through the purple light curtain with just his body, but the wood slag he throws out can actually hurt the illusionist. Ansrola took a step back calmly. Looking at the blond man standing in the middle, there was a hint of something bad in his heart. A small black bat appeared on her shoulder, silent and motionless as if it were a dead thing. Second form! She yelled violently. In an instant, countless fragments of purple light gathered in her hands, like whirlpools in the purple ocean, absorbing everything around them. Just in the blink of an eye, a purple-black scimitar appeared in Ansarola's hand. The blade was studded with countless purple crystal spikes. The handle of the blade was like a living thing, constantly squirming and twisting, as if 4 black spiders were embracing each other. Devil Sword Kunta, a general's exclamation came from all around. But Anslora had no time to care about this. The moment the magic knife was formed, the purple light dimmed, and she was shocked to see Garen's face appearing in front of her. His demonic scarlet left hand almost touched the tip of his nose. No. That's not a hand. It was some kind of extremely sharp claw, and Ansrola could even smell the blood and stench emanating from it. Without any clue, she grabbed the magic knife and swung it hastily. Laugh! A circle of purple ripples spread quickly, and everything seemed to slow down. Trees instantly shattered into pieces, stones also turned into powder, snow, black soil, everything was instantly shattered into pieces. An indestructible crushing force spread out quickly. All the generals had no reaction, everything happened in just an instant. They didn't have time to take 2 steps back. If it weren't for the amethyst in their hands protecting them, they would have been instantly shattered by this force. The ripples were so fast that people couldn't react at all. But someone is faster than this. Garen jumped over several times in the air, and the black light formation under his feet flashed away, and with the help of its strength, it landed steadily on a tree trunk fragment not far away. Just as he stood firm, a violent oscillating sound wave instantly centered on him and spread in all directions. Roar! It's a dragon roar! Medea and others who wanted to pursue them suddenly froze, their eyes blurred, and they were shocked to see Garen appearing in front of them. Bang bang bang. There were 3 muffled sounds in a row, and the 3 elemental generals were instantly hit. Throw it away, far away, no one knows whether it will live or die. Medea was shocked and backed away quickly. But he saw Garen's face appearing in front of him again. Black horn, she yelled instinctively. A black unicorn rushed out from behind her, passed through her body like an illusion, and slammed into Garen. Zilulu. The cry of the unicorn mingled with the sound of Garen's claws tearing the air. Boom. A huge shock suddenly spread out, and the black unicorn screamed, turning into black light points and dissipating. Medea watched in despair as the red claws clawed at her eyebrows. No, Ansarola's horrified voice came from not far away, but it seemed very far away. Save me, sister. Medea wanted to speak, but she couldn't make any sound. At this moment, time seemed to stretch out for a very long time. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 398. In mid-air, Shinaun held the unconscious Hellflame with one hand, and suddenly looked at another battlefield. There was a hint of surprise in his eyes. 8-headed fog crows. There was a hint of disdain at the corner of his mouth, and he pointed with his right hand. Wow! A black chain instantly flew out of his hand and disappeared into the void. The sharp claws barely touched Medea's neck. Garen's expression suddenly changed, and he quickly retreated without hesitation. Tisk tisk tisk. After 3 consecutive flashes, he instantly appeared a few meters away and directed his palm print at Anslola, who was rushing towards him anxiously. Dang! The magic knife and the red claw collided fiercely, but it was not a head-on collision, but the blade was knocked out of alignment from the side. Garen smiled casually, and fired lightning from his free right palm. Bang! The light of the totem in Anslola's abdomen shattered instantly, and his whole body shot backwards lightly. She was vomiting blood in large mouthfuls, and the skin on her abdomen quickly became black and hot, with traces of black smoke coming out, and a palm print clearly appeared. Wow! At this time, several black chains suddenly appeared in the air, and actually appeared directly inside the light of Galen totem, locking him tightly. Ansarolo managed to raise his sword and swung it out. Quinta, she yelled. That indestructible terrifying shock appeared again. The power is several times stronger than before. Garen's expression finally changed. This terrifying power was enough to threaten his body. Die! Ansarola slashed Garen's face with a crazy knife. All the vibrations gathered together, like a purple twisted light band. Dang! With a bang, Garen's head shattered into pieces and turned into countless black and red flesh and bones flying everywhere. Purple light shone everywhere, blooming with dazzling light in an instant. Everyone couldn't open their eyes for a while. The black chains were completely shaken by this terrifying shock. Garen's body was completely blown to pieces, turning into countless black flesh and blood, splattering onto the surrounding snow. Strangely, Garen's figure appeared again in the pine forest not far away. He seemed to be intact, and his whole body moved backward quickly. In mid-air, countless dark clouds quickly formed the body of Shen Yun. He looked at Garen in the distance with an indifferent expression. Want to run? He stretched out his hand and grabbed it, and countless black chains instantly penetrated the void and shot toward Garen overwhelmingly. Hua hua! For a moment, the world was filled with the sound of the collision of chains. Garen's birthmark on his eyebrow slowly seeped out a little bit of blood, and he looked at the divine cloud in the sky from a distance. Extend a finger as well. A huge scarlet shadow appeared behind him. The attribute points that had been accumulated for many days were instantly added to the intelligence. The 8-headed dragon roared madly to the sky, and the meat bag on its back split open with a hiss, and a golden dragon head suddenly shot out, charging towards countless chains ferociously. Roar! The golden dragon head roared into the sky, and the other 8 dragon heads immediately regained their vitality, and at the same time, they looked up to the sky and threw themselves at the chains. In an instant, the nine-headed dragon and countless chains slammed together. Multiple dragon roars and the sound of chains breaking continued to be heard. There was a loud bang at the top of the entire snow peak. The huge snow peak exploded directly, and a large amount of snow, gravel, and trees were scattered downwards like raindrops. Looking from a distance, the white peak seemed to have been chopped off by something. Half of the top was broken and exploded into countless pieces. A huge red nine-headed dragon is entrenched on the top of the peak, and the 9 dragon heads look up to the sky and roar at the same time. Countless black chains were locked on it, like a imprisoned mythical dragon. In an instant, the demon dragon's body exuded a viscous translucent liquid like blood plasma. This plasma fluid quickly flows along the chain, completely staining it red. Snapped. Snapped. Bang bang. The chains were broken directly, as if corroded by blood and water. Roar. The 9-headed demon dragon roared again, boom. With a loud noise, the demonic dragon completely turned into countless red lights, which were so dazzling that even the sun in the sky was temporarily covered. The entire sky above the snowy peak was completely dyed in blood. Garen's figure quickly swept towards the right side of the snow peak in the red light, and disappeared into the horizon in an instant. As expected of Commander Shinaun. This kindness will be repaid in the future, a cold voice echoed on the mountain peak. Shen Yun couldn't help but cover his eyes. When the blood light passed, the snow peak was in a mess, and there was no trace of the other party. Seeing the dying ants Lola and others below, Shinaun reached out and made a move, and the magic sword Kunta flew up and fell firmly into his hand. After today, there will be another troublesome person on the earth. Looking at the direction Garen left, there was a hint of relief in his eyes. In silence, Shen Yun's body, including the magic sword, quickly turned into countless dark clouds and dissipated directly. Deep in the remote desert land, in a dark and deep cave, countless chains extended from the dark void, locking a man in the middle like a spider web. The man's shoulders were punctured with 2 holes, but no blood flowed out. Just as Shinaun's body dissipated, the man slowly opened his eyes. "Pass the order. My subordinate is here." A silver woman appeared in the darkness, like a sculpture carved from silver. The woman had no face, just flat. Under the Black Sky Society military headquarters, if you find the 9-headed demon dragon Garen, please report it to the headquarters immediately, and I will personally gather the clones to deal with it. I obey. Marshal, does a Galung deserve to be so valued? The woman was a little confused. Shinaun closed his eyes. His strength lies in his own body, which is already comparable to one of my clones. This person has already embarked on the same path as us. It's a pity that the totem he chose is not very strong, and his potential has been exhausted, otherwise there might be another one. A leader-level figure. The woman didn't ask any more questions, bowed and left. On top of the snow peak, Aunt Lola was lying on her back in the snow, and Medea squatted beside her, carefully applying a green ointment to her lower abdomen. The charred handprint seemed to be imprinted on a stone, sinking deeply into Aunt Lola's abdomen. Sister Medea looked at Aunt Lora's abdominal wound and had no idea how to deal with it. Even the totem light of the strongest elemental general could only block most of Garen's power. The remaining little power passed through the totem light and hit Aunt Lola, causing such horrific injuries. Garen's speed was too fast. Even though Aunt Lora had all kinds of means, in the moment of close combat, the only thing that could protect her was the light of the totem around her. She didn't even have time to use the spiritual light combination, and the light of the totem was broken with a palm, and all the totems were damaged and seriously injured. Even the magic sword Kunta, which was not the strongest part of the blade, could not hurt Garen's body. Medea just recalled the scene just now and felt a chill to her bones. Extremely fast, extremely powerful, coming and going like a ghost. Even if he was hit by the magic knife, he could still come back to life. It is rumored that he has 8 heads. According to the intelligence analysis of Mahakala's scholars, he should have 8 chances to revive. Now he has 1 more head and becomes a 9-headed dragon. In other words, we need to kill him 8 more times. Can we completely destroy that monster? Anslola said with a defeated look on his face. My previous knife should have destroyed his life. Kill him 8 more times. Medea looked around and saw that of the 5 elemental generals she brought, only 2 were missing. They probably escaped. The other 3 people who were hit head-on were shot through the totem light, and then fell down the snowy peak. It is estimated that they will not survive. The totem masters on the periphery were destroyed because of the backlash caused by the magic array, and most of them were seriously injured. They were also affected by the violent aftermath of the explosion. Until now, there has been no news. It is obvious that there were heavy casualties. I only killed him once and spent so much money to kill him 8 more times. Medea didn't know how to face this problem. Suddenly she looked at her sister Anslola in shock, and her eyes began to slowly bleed. Sister. I'm fine, don't worry, I'll be fine after a while. Anslola smiled comfortingly, and suddenly she felt something wet on her face. She reached out and touched her eyes, and her hands were suddenly blood red. No, it won't happen. What's going on? Anslola became frightened and quickly wiped away the bloody tears on his face with his hands. But his eyes couldn't stop watering more and more. She felt that her eyes were becoming more and more swollen and dry, as if there was some foreign object stuck in her eyes. She stretched out her hands to rub her eyes. Putting down his hands, his eyes became more and more swollen. The bloody tears flowed more and more, and finally, bang! There was a muffled sound at the same time. Anslola's eyes suddenly exploded. She froze in place, motionless. With a pop, she looked up to the sky and fell down again. Sister, Medea covered her mouth and took 2 steps back in horror. She actually saw the blood holes in Anslola's eyes begin to bleed red and white. No. In less than 2 days, the Battle of Swafeng spread to all the forces with communication means in the entire East continent. Black Sky Society dispatched 7 generals, 2 ultimate secret treasures, and 2 sets of magic arrays. Marshal Shinaun's clone personally took action and ambushed the Royal Alliance team at the top of the snow peak. Hellflame, a master of mathematical mechanics, has disappeared, and his life and death are unknown. The 8-headed fog crows of the secret organization were trapped in a tight siege, but they actually escaped after killing the leading general. The 9-headed dragon totem he evolved into fought against Shen Yun's clone with a distant blow, and finally broke free from the chains and retreated. During this battle, 8 fog crows shook the East continent, and Shen Yun's announcement from the dark maze spread quickly. The pocket watch of the 8-headed mist crow was broken, and the 9-headed demon dragon in the Shinaun announcement was obviously more in line with the totem characteristics of Galen. For a time, Galleon's title changed again. The 9-headed demon dragon is famous all over the world. And on the 3rd day after the Battle of Swafeng, the Black Prince arrived in the capital of Kuwaitan and began to formally meet Emperor Iwek. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 399. Thousands of meters away from the snow peak, above the dark green forest sea, a blonde figure was flying rapidly wrapped in a thin black mist. Not long after flying out, the black mist gradually dimmed and disappeared, becoming less and less. Finally, all the black fog completely dissipated. The black pocket watch in Garen's hand clicked and cracked. He suddenly lost the support of the black mist and fell straight down. A black light array flashed under his feet, and Garen used his strength to do a flip, landing firmly on a branch of the big tree below and squatting down. A few squirrels and birds were frightened and fled in all directions amidst the sound of rustling leaves. Garen ignored these little animals, but looked at the pocket watch in his hand with regret. It's a pity that the mist crow formation was very easy to use. It just broke down like this. He recalled the previous battle situation, and it was probably that it was damaged by Shenayun's black chain. That kind of chain is very powerful, which means that his body can resist that kind of binding. If it were an ordinary totem master, he would be cut into countless pieces of flesh by chains in an instant. Garen waved one hand, and the 3 marks between his eyebrows suddenly glowed red. The state of Kyusuryu was directly reflected in his mind. He gently touched a mark on the left side of his eyebrows. This mark seemed to dim slightly as the main body was killed once. The 9-headed dragon in his mind lay quietly in a dark space, and the one on the far left looked sluggish and dying. It seems that these 3 marks are not a simple manifestation of physical changes, Garen thought thoughtfully. He recalled the white bird Holy Fist Parasha, who was known as the Invincible for an era in the world of secret martial arts. One of his unique skills, the 99 secret holes, are also known as the 99 fine holes. They have to be killed 99 times before they can be completely defeated. The 9-headed dragon's 9-life body is similar to the 99 secret holes of Palasha. If I hadn't hunted those high-level totem masters non-stop on the snowy peaks and obtained a lot of potential points, it would be really dangerous this time. He still had a few potential points to fill up all his intelligence. This time, most of the hunts in Swafeng Mountain were high-end totem masters who cleared the field, which just met the requirement of filling up his intelligence and had a few more. He had expected the Black Sky Society's siege, but the arrival of Shenayun's clone was unexpected. Shen Yun's body is not real at first glance. It is simply a clone made of condensed substances. But just a clone is so powerful. Plus that weird magic sword Kunta. If it were just a clone, Garen would still be confident that he wouldn't lose in a head-on confrontation with his true body. But with that knife, and I don't know if Shenayun has other methods. As one of the strongest people in the Black Sky Society, Shen Yun has access to levels that the previous Garen could not touch, and naturally has many powerful methods. So he made a quick decision and left. After checking the state of the 9-headed dragon's sluggish dragon head, this dragon head is gradually dying, and its breathing is getting shorter and faster. Garen looked at his ability attribute column attentively. After studying various totem theories and experiments for so long, according to the 9-headed dragon gene model I established, this situation should be offset by supernatural powers. Indeed, the 9 lives of the 9-headed dragon are absolute 9 lives. In other words, this kind of 9 lives is not renewable, and Garen has to die 9 times in total before he can be completely eliminated. But the reason why the original 2-headed lizard dragon was able to evolve into a 9-headed dragon was actually pushed forward by superpowers. This one relies on superpowers to reach its own genetic limit. Originally, the 2-headed lizard dragon was not qualified to evolve to this level. His own 9-headed dragon gene fragments were too few, and there were only a few fragments left. But the supernatural power dug it out completely and fully explored all the potential of this fragment, so the 9-headed dragon appeared. According to the model deduction, since the supernatural power can evolve the 2-headed lizard dragon into a 9-headed dragon, then the head that should have been permanently lost can also be used to catalyze the genetic improvement again through the potential point. Although Garen was extremely confident in his heart, he was still a little nervous at the moment when he really made amends. This is a critical moment to prove whether his conclusion is correct or not. Take a closer look at your status. Power 14, Agility 10, Physique 10, Intelligence 10, Potential 3218%. Possess the qualification of Silver Lantern Technician. Skipping other dense skill bars and other totems, Garen directly focused his attention on the core totem. Core totem, 9-headed dragon, an ancient creature, 8-headed dragon evolved creature, genetically perfect body. Theoretically, the 4th type of creature cannot be upgraded to its final form. Ancient genetic information. According to the records of the Silver Lantern Master, the 9-headed dragon was one of the most powerful creatures in ancient times. They have 8 extremely ferocious dragon heads and a main head. Each dragon head has different abilities, but most of them are related to toxins. Each of their dragon heads has different poison abilities, and has ruled the ancient times for tens of thousands of years. Later, due to the extinction of a kind of food creature that Kyusuryo needed every day, it degenerated and gave up its position as the hegemon of the food chain. This terrifying beast is ugly and poisonous, but it has an extraordinary possessiveness for beautiful things. They yearn for beauty, whether it is beautiful flowers and plants, insects and birds, or pure environments and creatures. They usually live near lakes with gems. Although the multi-headed lizard dragons that live in maze-excavated caves are their distant relatives, as the overlords of the food chain, they never need to hide in dark underground caves. They prefer to bask in the sun and clean their dragon scales. According to the research data of the Silver Lantern Master, it is speculated that this overlord-level beast belongs to the extremely narcissistic type. Ability, Void Vortex, extend the dragon's head to a long distance and bite the prey. In the concept instinct of the nine-headed dragon, the enemy is food. This ability can directly bite and swallow enemies from a long distance into the stomach. 9 lives, it must be killed 9 times to be completely killed each time. All the dragon heads must be cut off at once, otherwise the endless regeneration of the nine-headed dragons will plunge all enemies into nightmares. Dragon Epidermis. Angry Dragon Roar. After the shock effect, the status of the remaining dragon heads will be temporarily improved for 15 seconds, and the power and speed will be increased by 30% at the same time. Life Bite. Corruption Poisonous Mist, blood-red poisonous venom that can corrode most objects in the world. Virus Parasitism. Hydreigon does not have the parasite ability that the lizard dragon has in the underground. He hates all unclean and ugly things. They have another extremely terrifying parasitic ability, which can turn active. The germs are injected into the enemy's body, constantly sucking the enemy's vitality, and eventually creating a beautiful creature with a beautiful shape, the Dragon Demon. After reading all the information, Garen knew that the information was collected directly from his own memory by the superpower. In other words, part of this information was known to him, and part of it was deduced by the superpower itself. There is actually one aspect of the nine-headed dragon's ability that is not completely clear, and that is the final virus parasitism. Garen does not know what the dragon monster created is, and there is no detailed information on its superpowers. He focused on the last part of the nine-headed dragon's 9-life ability. There was an additional blood-red symbol, which seemed to be the pattern of an 8-headed dragon. That was the status symbol. 9 lives status, 8 lives. Garen tried to stare at this ability. After a full 5 seconds, the 9 lives ability really started to move. The 8 life symbol slowly blurred. The potential points also dropped rapidly. Garen was delighted, knowing it was effective. The potential point dropped by more than 20 points and finally stopped. The 8 life symbol became clear again, and the 8-headed dragon above turned into a 9-headed dragon again. In his mind, the head on the far left side of the 9-headed dragon in the darkness finally slowly returned to normal and became as energetic as the other heads. Garen finally breathed a sigh of relief. 20 points can replenish 1 life, which is really a good deal. Unfortunately, the secret treasure was missing. It was probably taken away by someone from the mathematical institution during the chaos. No one would have thought that the Black Sky Society's seizure of the secret treasure was a fake, and that the 3 major institutions were ambushed. Really, it seems like a full-scale war is really going to begin. After checking the gains and losses, Garen jumped down from the tree branch and looked at his tattered clothes. The black armor had been completely destroyed long ago, as well as the magic mirror made by the wind chime. Before he had time to react, the chain was instantly cut into several pieces, and was directly cut into his skin, as if embedded in his muscles. Garen's body shook and he shook out the magic mirror. Boss unexpectedly made a faint sound from the fragments of the magic mirror. Wind chimes, Garen asked tentatively. Boss, you are indeed fine. I knew it, how about it? Are you shocked by my great technology? It can still be used even if it is broken into several pieces. This is not a good thing that ordinary elites can make. The wind chime was there. Bien laughed. Are you okay? Garen directly filtered out his other nonsense. I have to hide far away to admire your majestic appearance, Boss Feng Chime complimented disgustingly. Nine-headed dragon. Tisk tisk, it's really not that powerful. Even Shen Yun's clone was beaten so hard that he ran away. Garen was speechless. I'm going back to the capital of Kuwaitan. Do you want to come with me? Feng Chime, for the rare occasion, stopped laughing and joking, but fell silent for a moment. I want to see how my kids are doing. Where are you going? Manolan, a small country near Sunia. Thanks to you, boss, I have accumulated a lot of good materials during this period. As expected, killing and stealing is the fastest way to accumulate. Then take care of yourself, Garen said calmly. He couldn't say he had any hatred towards the wind chimes, but instead had a weird feeling of being like a friend. This guy is a happy-go-lucky type, looking relaxed wherever he goes, but actually he has a lot of heavy things hidden in his heart. That's it, see you next time, maybe I'll come find you, Feng Chime chuckled. Okay, I guess I will stay in Kuwaitan this year. You can come to me directly. Boss. How? Actually, you are a good person. The sound stopped, and Garen put down the fragments speechlessly. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 400. Blood Tower, if it were you, could you survive this harsh environment? In a tall black tower somewhere in Dongzhou, there is a tower room on the middle floor. Two young men dressed as nobles were standing in front of a huge sand table, and an aristocratic man was playing with the terrain and settings on the sand table with his right hand. The entire sand table was in black and white, and it was the top of Snow Peak where Garen and Hellflame were besieged. The black dots represent the Black Sky Society, and the two red dots represent the Flames of Hell and the 8 Mist Crows. Another young man frowned slightly. His appearance was ordinary, and he would be overwhelmed in an instant on the street. But at this time, he was staring closely at the situation on the sand table with a solemn expression. Both of them look younger than 30, but the vicissitudes of life in their eyes are far beyond what a 30-year-old man can achieve. Marshal Shinaun is one of the two strongest commanders of Black Sky Society, so he is responsible for the strongest military force in East Continent. One of his clones, I don't know how much power he contributed. Blood Tower thought for a moment and answered carefully. How much effort did it take? The young man from before chuckled. He had a dark complexion, big blue eyes, and a black tattoo in the shape of a number 4 on his left face. His soft white hair was particularly shiny. I admit that Shinaun is better than me, but you don't have to say it directly in front of me, right? I have been in charge of a secret agency for 32 years, and I have fought against him several times, and every time I fell into a decline. After all, he was one of the 3 strongest people in the original Black Sky School. His eyes fell on the sand table again. You may not be convinced this time, but Shinaun did try his best. Blood Tower said nothing, waiting for him to continue. His clone even took the demon sword Kunta with him. How much power did you say? Even so, this 9-headed demon dragon could not be left behind, the white-haired man said in a gentle tone. If I confront him, I can escape unscathed, Blood Tower said seriously. What if it's still after being poisoned? This Blood Tower didn't know how to answer. Shinaun's power is already at the pinnacle of the 5th type. This galleon can compete with a clone of him, and at the end it is close to the ordinary 5th type. After all, the gap between the 5 types is huge. Just like me and the head of the headquarters, the white-haired young man explained calmly. But the 5th type is already the culmination. After that comes the strength of the secret treasure in our hands, as well as the exertion and understanding of power. We have become one with the totem and have reached an unprecedented state. But this state is both a peak and a shackle. Every 5 is looking for a way to break through. The white-haired young man turned around, walked to the window, and looked out at the vast golden land of the desert. It's a pity that Shinaun probably lost his brain due to the research topic. Although I can't beat him, there are people who can. The smile on his face suddenly faded. Give me the order. Yes, Blood Tower stepped forward quickly. According to the order of the head of the headquarters, the secret agency issued a ground notice: wherever the clones of Shen Yun appear, he will personally gather the clones to hunt down. Blood Tower's pupils narrowed slightly and then converged. In addition, please send me a private announcement to Shinaun. The white-haired man's expression became gentle again. Are you mentally ill? Shweta's face darkened, knowing that the vice minister had made another mistake. A few days later. The border of Kuwaitan, the source of the Red River, the snowy mountains of Naples. The snowy mountains, which were originally peaceful, now actually had an extremely huge black bird hovering in the sky. This giant bird has the characteristics of a dragon eagle, and also has an extremely sharp long beak. Its wings were hundreds of meters long, covering a large area of shadow below. Under the shadow of the giant bird, a huge black horse carried a black armored knight, stepping forward in mid-air, as if the sky was the ground. The Black Knight was surrounded by countless black smoke, which kept coming in and out of the gaps in his armor, like a living thing. Laugh. The giant horse spit out 2 streams of white air and hovered in mid-air. The Black Knight looked at the snow-capped mountains in the distance, raised his hand and pointed at the snow-capped mountains. Grumble. In an instant, the wind and clouds changed color, and countless black clouds swept in from the sky behind him. The sky quickly dimmed, and the earth was covered by huge shadows. Those are countless black dragon eagles. Thousands of black dragon eagles. Each one has a wingspan of more than 20 meters. Thousands of black dragon eagles are surrounded by countless black smoke, converging into a large dark cloud and swarming towards the snowy mountains. Far away from the snowy mountains, beside a small river, a man in white robes slowly emerged from the stream. His eyes glowed with a faint silver light, and he could see a very distant field of vision. At this time, he was looking at countless people in a daze. The black dragon eagle pounces towards the snowy mountains. Then that's the Dixiotian branch of the Black Sky Society. The dragon eagle king of the Black Domain. Is he crazy? Sir, several subordinates in white robes came running over at this time, panting and looking at the man in white robes. They didn't know what happened, but Suyi looked at the leader in confusion. There is a clone of Shen Yun sitting there. The man in white robe didn't seem to hear anything, looking at the sky in shock. Does Heiyu want to start a full-scale war with Haitian society? In the sky, the Black Knight riding a giant horse galloped, and the heavy sound of horse hooves could be heard even at this monitoring station hundreds of kilometers away. The Black Knight's speed became faster and faster, and in the end, it was like a black lightning, piercing straight to the top of the snowy mountain. On the top of the snow-capped mountain, a man with chains on his shoulders slowly emerged. The two faced each other head-on. Dragon Eagle King? Are you looking for death? The Black Knight pulled out the giant sword from behind with a clang, and black smoke from his body gathered on the black sword. There are always things in the world that I have to do. His voice came from the helmet. Click. A bolt of lightning flashed across the sky. At the same time, it illuminates the powerful and terrifying figures of the two people. Hours later. Boom. With a loud noise, the Naples snow mountain suddenly broke into 2 pieces. Countless amounts of snow formed avalanches one after another, turning into white torrents that swept through all terrain and vegetation around the snow-capped mountains. The Black Knight slowly flew out with a broken armor. Countless black dragon eagles circled in the sky, announcing the victor's camp. The Black Territory announces to the world, Garen, just because you don't mention some things doesn't mean I will forget them. After the 9-headed demon dragon shook the earth, the three major organs of the royal family were furious and sent people to demand that the Black Sky Society release the flames of hell and return the secret treasure this time. But none of this is big news. The most surprising thing is the secret mechanism. On the third day after Shinaun's announcement spread throughout the land, the head of the secret agency actually issued a notice that wherever Shinaun's clones appeared, he would personally gather the clones to hunt them down. The content of the announcement and Shinaun were tit for tat and they refused to give in to each other. However, when I thought about it, it was natural. The nine-headed demon dragon Garen was on a mission for a secret agency. Although he failed to complete it, the Black Sky Society actually dared to ignore the three major agencies and openly issued a notice asking his clone to hunt down Garen himself. This makes the masters of the secret agency extremely angry. When will it be someone else's turn to hunt down their people? They have been chasing others since ancient times. Now someone actually dares to hunt them down? Driven by a series of forces, and concerning the honor of the three major agencies and the belonging of elite members, the head of the headquarters immediately notified the Earth and issued a killing notice for Shinaun. The meaning is obvious: you break the rules first, and if you dare to move, I will kill you. Immediately afterwards, another big thing happened. It seems to be in response to Shinaun's announcement. The Lord of the Black Territory Dragon Eagle King Goth, actually appeared openly at an important branch of the Black Sky Society. He fought head-on with Shinaun's clone and successfully destroyed the powerful branch where Shinaun's clone was at the cost of serious injuries. Also famous all over the world, and at the same time, it was announced to the world that the content was actually related to the nine-headed demon dragon Garen. Two incidents made the ultimate secret treasure that was supposed to be the core become a foil. When Garen received the news, he was already on his way back to the royal capital. He learned the latest information from the members of the secret agency, the Red Team, who came to greet him. Sitting on the back of the huge rhinoceros-like grey creature, Garen carefully read the latest information in his hand. The white rhinoceros sitting down is the latest cultivated creature in the royal capital. It has extremely strong endurance and can manage for more than half a month at a time, and its speed is not too slow. It is one of the best means of transportation after the yellow-eyed crow. As for the previous black crow, although the body length and height of that creature are not very large, its wingspan is too conspicuous. In this kind of limelight, riding on such a high-altitude creature is easy to be sniped by experts, and it is difficult for one's own side to support it. On the contrary, it is not as concealed and safe as ground operations. To the right of Garon's white rhino is the child's rhino. This guy was humming an unknown song, which was still the same as before. Somehow, children always have the ability to make people ignore them unconsciously, but when people observe and pay attention to him carefully, they will feel that there is something slightly strange about him. After the Red Team reunited with Garen, everyone except the children were in awe of Garen. Only the children still have the same attitude as before. Garen vaguely knew something strange about the child, but he didn't take it seriously. The latest information brought by the Red Team was what he was most concerned about. Jing Jing put away the love paper in her hand, and then with a slight exertion, the paper was crushed into pieces and scattered. Goth, you are a completely different kid than you were before. And the head of the headquarters. Once these two things came out, I seemed to be in danger, but in fact I was extremely safe. Recalling the scenes in Titan City, the four people who were together at the beginning are now missing, scattered, and died in battle. But the biggest impact is not this, but that the Black Domain officially takes action against the Black Sky Society. This is a formal declaration of war on behalf of the entire Black Domain against the Black Sky Society. In fact, the Black Territory had carried out many massacres against the Black Sky Society as early as the beginning. Both sides had victories and defeats, but they had not risen to this level. Black Domain Dragon Eagle King and Shinaun both have restraints. Unexpectedly, this time there would be a complete showdown because of Garen himself. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 401. Sitting on the white rhinoceros, Garen recalled what happened in Titan City from time to time, and there was an unknown feeling in his heart. He thought that Gerda would always blame him and express his anger at him. There may continue to be misunderstandings between the two. Did not expect. From the notice, he could tell that Gerda still had resentment towards him, but also had complicated emotions. Team leader. There is something you need to decide. The old man slowed down from the front and came closer. He handed over a map in his hand, which was an earthy yellow scroll. Garen took it and heard him say, "We chose a safer route on the map for 2 days, but we were just not sure which one to choose. Both routes have pros and cons," the old man explained. "Come and see." Garen nodded, unfolded the map and glanced at it. On the map, in the center is a huge mountain range extending upward, like a black centipede lying on the paper. And they were moving forward along this mountain range. 2 clear routes have been drawn with red lines above. The end point of the route is the capital city of Kuwaitan, but the left one is winding, very detored and a long way. And also past many marked territories of powerful monsters. The one on the right is relatively straight, but requires passing through 3 troublesome places. I glanced at the signs of these 3 areas. Garen also frowned slightly. "How long will this short route take?" "About 7 days, if we don't stop here," the old man added. "We have marked the more troublesome ones in the middle. Of course, there will also be many small monster levels, but we have no marks, so these can be ignored." Garen nodded. "This long road needs to pass through the territory of 4 groups of top monsters with at least 3 type strength. We may not be able to avoid conflicts with them. Some of them are more troublesome and the terrain is more complicated. The swamp is not suitable for white rhino movement. We choose short route." "But the short route has to go through the Blood Queen's territory," Mao Mao interjected, "and the other people couldn't help but come over." However, Red Umbrella remained the same, dozing off on the back of the white rhinoceros. "Blood Queen Anis? Is there a problem?" Garen raised his eyebrows and asked doubtfully. "A subordinate of the secret organization caused a lot of damage in the Rainbow territory of the Blood Queen last month, and the 2 sides are still in a stalemate. Queen Anis has the support of Shanya, and she also has many strong men under her command, and she is very powerful." "Strong." "An announcement was issued a month ago that all people working in secret organizations will be treated as unwelcome." Garen was slightly stunned. "Our secret agency also has such a powerful character? Can one person make Hongyu go crazy?" He suddenly became interested. No one expected that that person was a member of the Green Team. He was originally inconspicuous, but he didn't expect that he would cause such a big loss. The old man smiled bitterly. "What exactly is the loss?" Garen became more and more curious. The old man shook his head. "He absorbed the blood essence of the Blood Queen. This was actually an accident that no one expected." Blood essence. Garen was also stunned for a moment. As one of the 3 heroes, the Blood Queen is not very powerful yet. At most, she is on the same level as Goth, but she is not something that ordinary people can easily provoke. Blood essence is an essence or that she condenses by absorbing flesh and blood. This is the core of the largest spell array she has laid out in the Hong territory. There are only 4 pieces in total in the entire Hong territory, and it is the energy source for all spell arrays. Generally, this thing will be directly dissolved if a totem master comes close to it, let alone absorbed. Unexpectedly, he would be absorbed by a foreign totem master. The old man shook his head slightly. The relationship between the secret agency and Hongyu is relatively tense now. At this time, if a totem master of your level, team leader, passes near Hongyu, it is difficult not to cause conflicts and misunderstandings. "How about that guy now?" That guy from the Green Team. Garen was quite interested in this guy. He could do things that others couldn't do, and he was definitely not an ordinary character. He is still hiding in the Hongyu territory. The entire Hongyu territory is now searching for him everywhere, trying to find him out. It is not easy for us in the secret agency to take action. After all, we are in the wrong and have absorbed other people's important supplies. Just take this short road, just in time to see what the Blood Queen's rainbow territory is like. Garen smiled. Let's send out the news through the communicator. If that person is smart enough, he will definitely seize this opportunity. Leave the rainbow territory. Okay, the old man smiled bitterly. 2 days later. The sky is gray and foggy. In the pale yellow fields, yellow weeds swayed in the wind. Surrounded by clusters of stunted trees. The yellow-black bushes are jagged, with a winding green path in the middle. The path was surrounded by a tattered wooden fence and was covered with fine grass and moss. 5 gray rhinos on the road were slowly moving towards the front of the path. These rhinos are more than 3 meters tall, huge and bloated, and extremely steady every step of the way. They could barely move along the path, occasionally knocking down fences on the side of the road. The rhino's thick, gray skin is covered in wrinkles and looks rough and hard. Riding on the back was a group of strangely dressed people. They were wearing black skirts and armor and hoods, and their faces could not be seen clearly. Only the golden fleur-de-lis on the collar showed that they were members of the Royal Alliance. In the distant fields, pairs of lurking pale beast eyes looked at the passing white rhino. They carefully felt the breath of the crowd on the rhino's back. Woo! A low sound like a barking dog came from the fields on both sides. The white rhinoceros Newton stood still uneasily. Suddenly, white shadows flew out from both sides of the path. There was no sound, only the slight swishing sound of weeds being lifted. A large number of white shadows flew towards the white rhino, and a small number of them flew towards the people on the back of the rhinoceros. Here I come. A woman on the back of a rhinoceros said, I need to change my clothes at the mission point. Her voice was clear, and she raised her hand and waved a red light. Ouch! The huge red tiger condensed into shape in mid-air, and its long tail was swept out like a whip. Bang bang bang. In a series of crashes, a large number of white figures were violently pulled back to the surrounding fields. It rolled on the ground a few times and then stopped moving. Only then did everyone see clearly that these white figures were actually white wild dogs, but they all had 2 tails, which looked a little weird. It's a 2-tailed white dog. It's very fast. It's just a herd of animals. A person on the back of the rhinoceros said faintly, and it sounded like an old man's voice. But they usually live near red-horned lizards. Please be careful. Look at me, the kitten hade, commanding the giant red tiger to hunt and kill all around, killing 2 or 3 white dogs with one bite, and completely killing them. For a while, there were constant wailing sounds in the field, and the smell of blood spread everywhere. The white dogs that had originally swooped over fled in all directions. This kind of 2-tailed white dog is very fertile and can give birth to more than 10 babies in a month, so it is often hungry and looking for food everywhere. The old man explained, it happens to be one of the foods of higher-level mutant beasts. Before he finished speaking, a group of red one-horned lizards suddenly flew densely in the sky. They have a black horn and red bat wings, like a large lizard with wings. These one-horned red lizard monsters screamed, vibrating their wings, and flew towards everyone. There was actually a huge white bat flying behind them. Is it a white bat? On top of a rhinoceros in the middle, a man looked up at the sky. A strand of blonde hair peeked out from under the hood, and there were 3 scarlet marks between the man's eyebrows, which looked like birthmarks. This person was clearly Garen, who was rushing to the capital of Kuwaitan. Looking at the white bat in the sky waving the chain and rushing towards him, Garen couldn't help but recall the scene when he first encountered the white bat in Titan City. He was extremely weak at that time and had to use siege tactics when facing a white bat. And now, roar! The huge red tiger roared, jumped up heavily, and flew directly towards the white bat in the sky. Its limbs immediately ignited with red flames, its mouth opened wide, and a fireball shot out with a bang. Boom! The sky suddenly fell into a flame explosion, turning into a huge red fireball, illuminating the surrounding area with a reddish color for a while. Yeah, Kitty put away the red tiger proudly and looked at the messy battlefield around her. Successfully solved, she straightened her chest and secretly glanced at Hong Umbrella, only to see the sky sleeping soundly, and she suddenly became angry. "Let's go," Garen said calmly. The kitten immediately became obedient and moved forward without making a sound. Ever since she was scared by Garen last time, she never dared to make a mistake in front of Garen again. Because she could clearly feel that Garen was really planning to kill her at that time. It's not like those enemies in the past. Many of them will have other thoughts because of her beauty and figure, and there will be opportunities for delay. Garen, on the other hand, looked at himself as if he were a dead man. As long as he said something wrong, no one could stop him from taking action. Others watching may not feel it, but she can really feel it. Even Brother Hongsun, who is most sensitive to murderous intentions, seemed to think it was a joke at the time. At that time she was almost frightened and incontinent. She did not feel wrong. At that time, Garen really planned to kill her. If she did not understand current affairs, it would reduce the instability in the team and make it easier for him to control the entire team. I didn't expect this guy to turn so quickly. After a moment of comfort, the 6 white rhinos continued on their way through the field. I don't know how long it took, but the fields in front of me became more and more golden, as if they were about to be harvested in autumn. There were golden wheat fields all around the path. A gust of wind blew by, causing ripples in the wheat fields. So beautiful, the child next to her suddenly couldn't help but say. He was looking up at the sky on the left, as if there were extremely beautiful things there. Everyone followed his line of sight and saw that there was only a gray cloud in the sky and nothing. "It's happening again," the kitten muttered, lowering its head and continuing to play with the Rubik's Cube-like toy in its hand. The fox also lowered his head and continued reading. The old man shook his head, closed his eyes and rested his mind like Hong Umbrella, and dozed off. Only Garen looked at the child curiously and found that he was indeed looking at it extremely seriously. He looked up at the sky, and there was nothing there. Garen lowered his head and looked at the child again. Look closely at his eyes. Suddenly he was slightly shocked. A strange situation occurred. Garen actually saw a hint of gold in the reflection of the child's eyes. He felt a chill in his heart. The sky was still covered with thick clouds and there was no sun at all. Where did the gold in the child's eyes come from? Suddenly something moved in my heart. He remembered a solidification spell he had obtained, which was the Eye of Isaiah embedded in the war shackles of the War Guild. With the thought in his heart, Isaiah's eyes immediately activated. Looking at the sky again, a hint of gold appeared in the clouds there. Garen's heart was shocked. He suppressed the surprise in his heart and looked carefully. With his eyesight, he couldn't see anything clearly. He could only vaguely see a human shape, a golden human shape. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 402. Child, what did you see? Can you tell me? Garen directly used the method of secret military sound transmission to bundle the sound into the child's ears. It's a very good and beautiful thing. The child glanced at Garen and winked mischievously. He also said nothing or even made a sound. Just this look made Garen understand what he wanted to say. Mean. Garen suppressed the shock in his heart. Can you tell me what it is? No, you won't believe me if I tell you. You will only say that I am a fool and a psycho. I am not a psycho, the child flatly refused. I can actually see a little bit, but not as clearly as you. I don't believe it. The child curled his lips. Garen smiled, and seeing the child's firm tone, he changed his words. Then can you tell me, what is that golden thing? Golden, the child suddenly looked suspicious. Can you really see it? I can see a little bit, Garen nodded. One of the two used a secret weapon to convey the message, and the other conveyed the message with a strange look in his eyes. Even the old man who was closest to him didn't know about the communication. The child scratched his head, showing a trace of distress. I don't know what it is, but I often see that thing in the clouds. You can only see them in the sky where there are golden fields on the ground. Garen heard a clue. Is that thing a person? The kid just shook his head. Them? Do you mean there are a lot of them? No matter what Garen asked next, the child just kept shaking his head and refused to say anything more. If you talk too much, I will gradually lose sight of them. You have to be careful too. These are the rules. They're rules. The child was forced to become anxious. He finally answered and then stopped talking. Garen stopped asking too much, and it was obvious that the child had told him everything he could say. Judging from the child's attitude towards him, he is closer to him than the old man. There seems to be a kind of treating him as a kindred spirit. Usually it was the old man who would patiently listen to him confiding his secrets, but he understood that it was just the old man who wanted him to cooperate with the group's actions, so he was so patient. I wasn't really interested in what he had to say, and I didn't really believe everything he said. The child is actually not stupid, he knows it very well. Although Garen's questioning made him a little annoyed, he was really interested in what he was talking about. This was what made him very happy. Seeing the slight change in the child's attitude, Garen had an idea in his mind. He was not in a hurry. Anyway, if he had more contact with the children in the future, there might be some unexpected gains. Riding the white rhinoceros, he opened the eyes of Isaiah again and looked towards the sky. The golden touch there disappeared at some point. Looking at the child again, he had already lowered his head and continued to hum an unknown song. He found a few straws from nowhere in his hand and was weaving something, which seemed to be a garland. I'm getting more and more confused. Garen breathed a sigh of relief and closed the eye of Isaiah. Nighttime. The white rhino was tied to a few old trees on the roadside and rested on the edge of the field. 6 people were sitting around a bonfire, and the bright yellow firelight illuminated everyone a little red. Are there any entertainment activities? The kitten asked with a yawn. Playing cards, Hong Umbrella was the first to respond. No, the fox always wins. The kitten flatly refused. How about playing chess? You 3 can play together, and I'll give up 2 pieces. The old man stroked his beard and smiled. Okay. But let's give it 3 pieces, the kitten pushed further. Okay, okay. The old man shook his head. Garen was fiddling with the bonfire and watching the other 4 people setting up the chess pieces on one side and preparing to play chess. He declined their invitation and sat alone with the child, listening to him humming an unknown tune intermittently. Kid, can you tell me your real name? He picked a few pieces of dry wood and put them on the fire. Real name, the child drew something on the ground with a branch. Isn't the real name the child? Kid is just our code name in the group, the real name is the name before the code name, Galen explained. He watched the child draw a little man on the ground and then started to draw a second one. That one, the child thought for a while. It seems to be called Mason, right? I can't remember clearly. Don't you have any relatives? Garen frowned slightly. Fellow? I don't know, the child answered casually while concentrating on drawing something. I grew up on a pumpkin farm. There was no one else there and the strawberries were delicious and I ate that all the time growing up. Those strawberries, Garen wanted to ask again, but suddenly his eyes narrowed slightly and he stood up. Who? The 4 people who were playing chess over there were slightly startled and stood up one after another. Look in the direction Garen is looking at. In the dark field, a slender figure slowly walked out of the shadows. This man has a well-proportioned figure, wearing a light cyan robe with a white undershirt underneath, and has waist-length black hair that is straight and neat. The most conspicuous thing is that he wears a slender, straight green rapier on his waist. This is a man with a handsome face and eyes as green as amber. He does not show a cold expression, but he unconsciously gives off a cold and chilling temperament. Garen saw this man at first sight. If he hadn't been wearing Western-style silver-patterned boots, he would have thought it was an Oriental swordsman from his previous life. Azure Dragon swordsman, the old man was the first to react, with a hint of vigilance in his eyes. Blue Dragon swordsman, Garen was slightly stunned. The Blue Dragon swordsman is rumored to be the strongest person under the Blood Queen. He and the Queen were childhood sweethearts and followed Joanne until the end. Soon, the sound of hurried footsteps suddenly came from the surroundings, and groups of masked swordsmen in green clothes walked through the surrounding fields, surrounding the 6 people one after another. They were like thin green lines, looming in the firelight, moving very fast. Blue Dragon swordsman Dakora. What do you mean? Garen glanced at the people around him. It is rumored that the 9-headed demon dragon Garen is so powerful that it was able to escape from such a bad situation in the Snow Peak battle. I didn't expect that I would encounter a master like you just on patrol at night. The Azure Dragon swordsman's voice was very calm and restrained, showing that he is a person with strong self-control. You mean, you want to test whether I am worthy of my name? Garen looked at the other party indifferently, and found that the other party's right hand was slowly grasping the hilt of the rapier at his waist. In addition to the weird plant totems that Blood Queen's Rainbow Territory is famous for, it also has the most outstanding instant totems like the Blue Dragon swordsman. If Garen had not seen the future history, he might have been caught off guard accidentally. The totem of the Blue Dragon swordsman does not attack independently after being released, but is completely led by the totem master. His sword is a tool for storing totems. The moment he draws the sword, it is the process of releasing the totem attack. When the sword is sheathed, it is also the time when the totem is withdrawn. The more powerful the stored totem is, the more powerful the sword will be, and naturally the swordsman will become more powerful. The title of Blue Dragon swordsman also comes from the sword in his hand. That is also his core totem, Qinglong. It seems that the people around them should also be elite users of instant totems. For a moment, Garen thought of the magic sword Kunta that Swafeng had encountered. The knife may have a similar structure. It should also be a totem storage device of Shinayun. Since you have come to our Rainbow Territory, why don't you go in and have a good look at it, and let Her Majesty and I entertain you? Although the Qinglong swordsman said the polite words of invitation, there was no smile on his face at all, giving people a cold taste. What a coincidence. I have something to do and have to rush back to the capital. Maybe next time. I will personally visit the Rainbow Territory next time I have the chance. I can also admire the rumored Azure Dragon sword and the Blood Queen's methods. Galunpi smiled. Robuxiao replied. No need for next time, just now. Before he finished speaking, the Azure Dragon swordsman drew his sword instantly. Clang. Roar. What was pulled out of the scabbard was not a sword, but a green light. It was a huge green dragon, like a long dragon from the east. The green dragon rushed straight towards Garen, and its huge dragon roar directly shook the surrounding wheat fields to fall radioactively in all directions. Bursts of green light completely illuminated everything around him, making everyone look green. The green dragon pulled out a green light path in mid-air, and the 1-meter-tall dragon head opened its ferocious mouth and bit Galen fiercely. The strong airflow was driven by Qinglong, and the violent sound waves made the ears of people around him numb, and they could not hear anything clearly. Bang! The green dragon's head hit the air in front of Garen hard, and a transparent circular vortex emerged, blocking the dragon's head's bite and collision. The vortex is like a water surface, constantly rippling in circles. Garen smiled slightly, stretched out his index finger, and slowly pointed at the dragon's head. For a moment, green light spots splashed everywhere. Before the index finger touched it, the green dragon shattered into pieces and turned into countless green light spots, returning to the long sword in the hands of the azure dragon swordsman like thousands of streams returning to their source. Clang! The rapier is sheathed. It turns out it's really Mr. Garen. I thought he was someone pretending to be, so I tried to test him. You won't be surprised, right? Decora's face still showed no expression at all. Of course not, Garen smiled. Retract your fingers calmly. I just happen to have confirmed your identity. I heard that your excellency plans to rush to the capital of Kuwaitan as soon as possible, so I won't keep you. I look forward to seeing you next time. Same. Garen glanced at the other person's right hand and smiled again. Let's go. He turned away first. The rest of the red team followed Garen cautiously and turned around to leave. Although the instant victory or defeat between the two sides was not clear, the team leader said it was time to leave, so there was no need to question it. Just as Garen and others were completely submerged into the darkness in the distance, the azure dragon swordsman Decora slowly released his grip on the hilt of the sword, and a drop of blood was flicked by him, quietly shooting into the darkness and disappearing. Let's go, collect the team. He hid his right hand in his sleeve and turned to leave. Captain, a female swordsman next to him supported him worriedly. I'm fine. Decora broke away from the other party's support. What a powerful nine-headed demon dragon. He is no longer the ordinary type 4. I thought there was not much difference between us. There was a hint of caution on his face. Inform all the swordsmen in the Rainbow Territory that wherever the nine-headed dragon appears, immediately notify the Queen and me. This person must not be an enemy head-on. Is he that strong? The female swordsman was shocked. Stronger than you think. Decora accelerated and disappeared into the darkness amidst the guards of a group of swordsmen. Mysterious Journey. Author, Gunkai. Chapter 403. Garen and others mounted the white rhino again and slowly moved along the path in the designated direction. Waves of wolf howls and strange roars could be heard everywhere at night. The sounds echoed far and wide, as if they were suddenly transported back to the ancient era of giant beasts. Team leader? Why do we have to travel all night? Didn't you already win a move? The old man asked in a low voice beside Garen. Garen shook his head. I am indeed stronger than Qinglong, but his strength is enough to haunt me for a while. There is a blood queen behind me, not to mention that this is their territory. It is said that the queen has many strong men. Once a conflict breaks out, the situation may be worse than before. The battle at Swafeng was even worse. After all, Shinayun and the others misjudged me at that time, and that was why I attacked and killed the general first. In other words, because Qinglong suddenly appeared here so late, he actually has some fear of the team leader. The old man reacted immediately. It can be understood that way. Garen smiled. He suddenly thought of something. By the way, old man, do you know the Baker's Stone Eye in Daihua Club? Baker's Stone Eyes, the old man thought carefully. I think I heard this name from Marquis Blacksnake a few days ago. Marquis Blacksnake. Well, there is a veteran master of Mathematics Institute who has been famous for decades and has a good relationship with me. We were companions when we were young and traveled around. Later, we separated due to different development directions. The old man explained. This trip before the mission, I practiced playing chess with him, and the old guy was better than me. When I was playing chess, someone from outside came in to report. At that time, I heard the name Baker Xian, which is Earth Flower. Representative of the society. Black Snake. Black Snake. Garen suddenly remembered something. Does he have a secret treasure called the Rose Snake Crown? The old man suddenly showed a hint of surprise and glanced at Garen. How do you know? Only he and I know about this secret treasure. Don't worry about how I know it. Send him a message and tell him to be careful about Baker's stone eye. By the way, how strong is this black snake, Marquis? Garen asked. More powerful than me. I haven't seen him take action in many years. However, he has 2 generals under his command. They are female twins. Their strength is type 3 spiritual light. Their cooperation is quite powerful. He also raised 2 strange beasts and cultivated such. It has been many years and I don't know how it has changed, the old man simply replied. As a veteran marquis and superior noble, his family territory is very large. Although it has shrunk a lot after the turmoil, it is still about the size of a province. Oh, Garen was quite surprised. In the original history, it is no wonder that Marquis Blacksnake showed his strong strength when he encountered Baker Stone Eye. He did not expect that he had such a powerful territory behind him. It turns out that in history, Marquis Blacksnake was also a powerful person, and Baker Stone Eyes was no match for him, and he was hunted down in an extremely embarrassing manner. This time, he was really being hunted. The escort masters of the Daiwa Club were restrained by the masters of the Royal Alliance. This ordeal was also a key journey for Baker Sheehan to finally gain the trust of the 2 twins under Marquis Blacksnake. At the last critical moment, the Marquis was seriously injured in a sneak attack by the twins, and then the secret treasure was robbed, and he died in an extremely miserable manner. This is a situation that no one expected. In the end, the ultimate secret treasure, the rose snake crown, had fallen into the hands of Baker Stone Eyes. He himself had greatly increased his strength during the ordeal, and finally entered the 4th type. At this level, he has basically gained a foothold. If big forces want to move him, they must use high-end power. However, due to the special nature of the rose snake crown, ordinary high-end power may not be able to retain him. So after weighing the balance of strength, coupled with the fact that the major forces were short of manpower, Baker Stone Eyes also lurked knowingly at this time, so other forces could only leave him alone. Galen recalled this period of history. During this critical period of Baker Stone Eyes, the character Marquis Blacksnake played a very important role. Baker Sheehan is actually a seed specially cultivated by the Earth Flower Club. He has great potential. Please ask Marquis Blacksnake to be more careful. I understand. I will send the message in a moment. The old man nodded and said seriously. He knew very well that even Garen said that Baker Stone Eye must be troublesome, so it must be troublesome. In a dark forest far away, a group of night walkers were walking among the extremely dark woods. The leader held a torch, and the red fire illuminated the surrounding area for several meters. There was a constant crunching sound from the footsteps, occasionally mixed with the sound of dry branches being broken. Among this group of night walkers, the leader was wearing a white robe, with the cuffs and hem torn to make it easier to walk. His eyes were different from those of ordinary people, actually glowing with a faint silver light. Among the people behind, there were old people, children, and a beautiful girl in red. Xian, haven't you arrived yet? The girl in red asked in a low voice. Hurry up, hold on for a while, this is the territory of the bar giants, we can only advance slowly. Otherwise, if we move too fast, the giants will consider it a provocation, Baker Stone Eyes said lightly. I wonder if Marquis Blacksnake's people have caught up, the girl in red asked worriedly. It won't be that fast. Even if the magic array can't trap them for long, moving quickly in the Baal Giants' territory without understanding the situation will definitely cause disaster. Baker Stone Eyes looked calm. Ah! Ah! Suddenly, a savage-like cry came from far behind. Soon, a large number of these screams came one after another, rang from all directions, and they rushed towards the back of the head quickly. Look, the giants have all gone to entertain the uninvited guests. Baker Stone Eyes smiled faintly. As expected of that person's disciple, he can even observe such secret information aiming in the team side with emotion. You're welcome. You are about to leave Hessa. I can only send you here. In front of you is a stronghold of Daiwa society. You can make a special trip to the headquarters from there. Baker Sheehan politely replied to Aining. You have helped me a lot. Aining seemed to look much younger. The white hair on his head was much darker, and his beard gradually became darker. As a senior of the Daihua Club, and having a classmate relationship with the teacher, this little help is nothing. More importantly, the information you gave me is enough to make up for everything. Baker Sheehan expressed his sincere gratitude. I have been stationed in a remote village for decades to collect a piece of information. I am proud that the Daihua Club can have a veteran like you. He bowed heavily to Aining. You're welcome, this is what you should do. Aining shook his head and quickly returned the greeting. Okay, let's go. He pulled his little apprentice and took one last look at the rest of the team. This journey gave him mixed feelings. When Garen showed his superhuman talent, he saw in Garen's eyes a fearlessness and tenacity that was unwilling to be left alone and surpassed ordinary people. With talent, more perseverance, it is only a matter of time before you become so strong. I just didn't expect this day to come so quickly. Backstone Eyes was defeated miserably at the hands of Garen, but he didn't even hate his teacher. He was really broad-minded. If the hatred between the two can be resolved. With this thought, Aining immediately thought of the hatred between the two. He sighed immediately. It's probably impossible. Pulling his well-behaved little apprentice, Aining walked forward out of Hisan. There were already several people waiting on the dark grass in front. Aining, you have worked hard for so many years. A figure stood out in the moonlight, and she was an old woman with buns and white hair. Lisa Aining looked at this former friend and felt a lump in his throat for a moment, unable to speak. He was isolated from the world, and even his wife died for the intelligence information of Daihua Club. In the end, he was hated by his childhood friend, and the two became enemies. All of this, at this moment, finally paid off. So, I can already. You are qualified to restore your own school, but it is only a branch. The old woman nodded solemnly. That's enough. Aining had a satisfied look on his face. He looked back at Baker Stone Eyes and others in the woods. Let's go. I haven't been back for so many years. I wonder if everyone has changed. Everyone has changed, and her hair has turned white. The old woman lowered her eyelids and fell into silence for a while. Garen held the black box communicator at his collar, frowning, listening to the sounds coming from inside. The group of them was slowly crossing a white rocky hill. The white rhinoceros walked among the uneven rocks. From time to time, if he stepped on it, he would feel a heavy shock. The sun was shining high in the sky, and the scorching sunlight shone on the black clothes of the 6 people, causing their body temperatures to continue to increase. The surface of the black skirt armor constantly reflects a bright black luster, as if it were plated with a layer of silver metal. So hot. The kitten couldn't help but tug at the collar. He looked around and saw no green plants at all among the white rocks. There were only a few black dead vines lying on a huge boulder passing by. It looked like they had been dried to death for a long time. What the hell is this place? The sun is already hot enough in the sky, why is there still heat on the ground below? The kitten complained loudly and impatiently. The old man glanced at her helplessly, then at Garen, who looked indifferent, and Hongsun, who was sleepy. This place should have changed after the turmoil. Luan Shigang used to be rich in geothermal energy. When I was a professor at Enite Imperial University, I brought students here to inspect it. The geothermal energy here is rich and the temperature is very high, but there is no complete earthquake. The desert phenomenon is obviously rich in groundwater. So, there must be a hot spring here. Kitty suddenly became happy. She felt that her body was sticky and covered with sweat. The automatic thermostatic effect of the black clothes was unable to withstand the terrifying high temperatures that struck from above and below. The temperature here has reached a damning 45 degrees. She could only turn on the totem light from time to time to resist the strong heat. The old man nodded affirmatively. Hot spring? It will definitely be very comfortable to soak in it and sleep in it. Hong Umbrella also showed an expectant look, and it was rare that he felt a little more energetic. The child looked around with his big eyes open. Garen was thoughtful. "Old man, you used to be a workshop master. You should know the war shackles of the War Guild, right?"